to ensure that we rebuild America.
Texas is providing charter buses to send these illegal immigrants who have been dropped off by the Biden administration to Washington, D.C.
I believe the president should go further and forgive $50,000 in student loans permanently.
Joe Biden said some things at a union conference yesterday that had people going, what did he just say? Texas is trolling D.C. Senator Schumer is fighting for his seat against AOC, but he's not really just quite yet. And also, Congressman Greg Pence joins us to talk about the Energy and Commerce Committee hearing yesterday. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually their name, Jobob.
Live from a dingy bunker completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. Today is April 7th, the year of our Lord 2022. You at 22. Got a lot of great stuff for you today. A lot of clips today. And then we're talking to Congressman Greg Pierce of Indiana regarding gas prices. Interesting perspective that he's got on why gas prices are what they are and what the Biden administration is doing to not make it any better. But speaking about Brandon himself, I wanted to play this. So the White House has gotten fantastically good at walking things back. If you don't know what the terminology, walking things back, the president will say something. That thing will be ridiculous and insane on a lot of levels. And then Jen Psaki and the White House crew will try and walk back what he said. Yesterday was no different. In the White House press briefing room, Jen Psaki was asked a question about this statement that you're about to hear from the president. Well, let me just play the clip and we'll discuss what he meant, what he was talking about, and how it's not good for the country after he says it. Check this out.
This war can continue for a long time, but the United States will continue to stand with Ukraine and the Ukrainian people in the fight for freedom. And I just want you to know that. And by the way, if I got to go to war, I'm going with you guys. I tell you. I mean it.
Okay, so President Biden shouldn't do off-the-cuff anything ever. Again, finished his speech. Here's what probably happened. If we're being fair, he was talking about Ukraine at the end of the speech. We're standing with Ukraine. And then ad-libbed just kind of war in general. And he said he's a big union guy. If I got to go to war, I'm going with you guys. Here's the thing. Given the current situation and a lot of people questioning whether or not U.S. troops are going to be on the ground at any point in Ukraine, you can't freaking say that. Those kind of mistakes are not something that you can do from the presidency. But again, he continues to do them. Then obviously, given the fact that he said, if I have to go to war, Jen Psaki had to walk that back. If you haven't already, click the like button, click the little share button. Would appreciate the like button, share button over here. Would appreciate you doing so. It helps us get to as many people as possible and helps us continue doing this show. Always a lot of more of you watching than clicking the little thingy. Would appreciate it. Doesn't cost you anything. It really helps us out. But here's Jen Psaki being asked about Joe Biden's war comments and what she had to say yesterday.
The president today, as he was talking about his vow to stand by Ukrainians, added a line, and by the way, if I've got to go to war, I'm going with you guys. Can you clarify what that meant?
There's no intention of sending troops to the ground or fighting a war with the U.S. forces against Russia. That was a reflection of his long love for labor unions and members of labor unions and the building and trades workers who were there and people that he would always love to be in the foxhole with, not an indication of a change in U.S. policy.
Okay. Again, as long as we're being fair, I actually think Jen Psaki is accurately describing what was going through the president's head. That's not necessarily the problem I have. He was using a war metaphor to say that I'm a union guy, I love the unions, and unions are great, and if I were to go to war, I'd be in the foxhole with you guys. The problem I have is you can't piggyback that on just talking about Ukraine. He says, we'll always support, he literally verbatim said, if we're always going to support the people in Ukraine, and if I have to go to war, you break that sentence up, dude. But then he said something that I think is going to make the new, I don't know, way of making fun of President Biden. Well, you seen the Trunder Dash double pressure video, the how to speak Bidenese? A lot of you are probably like, what the heck is he talking about? Joe Biden oftentimes says things that aren't words and just kind of continues on. He talks like this, and we're some and there's all in it say. That's exactly what it sounds like a lot of times. And he did that again yesterday. Post Millennial posted this and said, wait, what did he just say? Watch this.
You know what it is. Most people don't. To ensure that as we rebuild America, we upheld a promise. A promise.
To ensure that we rebuild America, that's the promise. I don't know what that means or what he's trying to say there, but I don't know. I don't know. One more time. One more time. See if you can just if you can figure out in the comment section what he actually is trying to say. Let me know, because I watched this 10 times already and can't figure it out. One more time.
You know what it is. Most people don't. To ensure that as we rebuild America, we upheld a promise. A promise.
You know what it is. Most people don't. To ensure that we rebuild America, that's the promise. I don't know. Anybody in the comment section want to help me out here? Like, what in the world did this guy just say? But speaking of the bad day Joe Biden is having, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, in this little chyron, says, trolls DC. That's what it is. It's a troll. It's hilarious, and it's true, and it's accurate. And there are a lot of people that are genuinely feeling the pain of illegal immigration. But Texas Governor Greg Abbott came out yesterday and decided to enact a policy in which Texas, well, you know what? I'm going to let him tell you, because it's funny. It's bad that it's happening, but it is in fact funny. Check this out from the Texas governor regarding illegal immigrants coming into his state and wreaking havoc in his local communities.
Crossing the border from Mexico into Texas. And at this time, I'm going to sign my directive to Colonel McCraw, the director of the Texas Department of Public Safety. To get that project underway immediately for the zero tolerance and the inspections that will be taking place. Second, to help local officials whose communities are being overwhelmed by hordes of illegal immigrants who are being dropped off by the Biden administration. Texas is providing charter buses to send these illegal immigrants who have been dropped off by the Biden administration to Washington, D.C. We are sending them to the United States Capitol, where the Biden administration will be able to more immediately address the needs of the people that they are allowing to come across our border. To get that going, I'm going to sign a letter to Chief Nim Kidd with the Texas Division of Emergency Management, who will be in charge of this operation. Together, and to recap on these, what Colonel McCraw is charged to do is, in this letter, I say that I hereby direct the Texas Department of Public Safety to
okay, so at the end of that, he just talks about it a little bit more. But dude, that's hilarious. He says, well, we're going to just start sending buses to Washington, D.C. Because here's the thing. People in D.C. who are crafting policy regarding illegal immigration don't have to deal with it. People like Henry Cuellar, who is a Democrat in Texas, is like trying to make as much noise as possible in D.C., but can't because nobody wants to pay attention because it's not in their backyard. So Texas governor saying, we're just going to ship people in buses over to D.C. And the thing that I think is hilarious about this, too, that I thought was just hilariously funny and trollsome of the policies of the Biden administration here, is that he says, in order to ensure that they can help them more quickly and more effectively, we're going to do it for them, which is, dude, the troll level is hilarious at this point. And again, I don't necessarily know that we should be in a place a time in history and where politicians are trolling other politicians, but this is freaking funny. Governor Abbott, hilarious. Last thing before we get to Congressman Greg Pence of Indiana talking about energy, I wanted to get to this. So this I think is hilarious. As a political consultant nerd who runs campaigns and all this sort of stuff, it's fun to see. Fun might be the wrong term. It's interesting to see the different political plays that people make to try and thwart an attack from their own side or from the outside. New York is clearly a Democratic state, especially statewide. There hasn't been a Republican governor or a Republican senator for a very long time in the state of New York. Chuck Schumer is the Democratic senator from New York and is trying desperately, because he knows that a Democrat will always win. He's trying desperately to stave off an attempt from AOC to take his Senate seat. So watch this next clip with that in mind. Keep in mind, Senator Schumer, his only objective is to keep his seat from being taken by one AOC in the very Democrat state of New York. Keep that in mind when you watch this clip of Chuck Schumer saying ridiculous things and proposing insane policies.
One more thing. I've just heard that the president is going to extend the student loan moratorium through August. This is a very good thing. Students are suffering under a huge amount of debt, and to extend the moratorium is a good thing. But of course, I believe the president should go further and forgive $50,000 in student loans permanently. It's a huge burden on so many people. College should be a ladder up. It is all too often with student debt is an anchor down. Okay.
So again, that's Chuck Schumer saying not only should the moratorium continue, which holy crap! First of all, student loan payments got pushed back even further, which doesn't help kids. Like you're screwing people with student loans by continuing to let them skate on by without paying their loans. And on top of that, he says we should just cancel $50,000 worth of debt for all students. Awesome, Senator Schumer. Are you going to cancel my mortgages? Are you going to cancel my car payments? Are you going to cancel all of the other debts that I have? And also, if you don't do that, do I at least get $50,000 back for not having any student debt? Would appreciate that, Senator Schumer. But he knows that's not possible. He's just trying to stave off the woke left attack from AOC if it ever were to come. Also, Senator Schumer today said that, and maybe we'll take this live, that the vote for Ketanji Brown Jackson to be confirmed to the U.S. Supreme Court is going to happen today in the Senate. That might be happening right now. I'm doing the show. I don't actually know. So there's that. Let me see. Going back to this other story. Oh, geez. Billy says, get some, Governor Abbott, regarding the story that we just played. They caused this mess. Let them learn how to deal with it. A lot of people saying a similar thing. Which is very funny. Want to get to this. We've got let's see. Oops. Let me rephrase that. The Energy and Commerce Committee had a hearing yesterday. And now is Congressman Greg Pence of Indiana, who is also on the Energy and Commerce Committee in Congress. Congressman, how are you doing?
Good, Jobob. How you doing today?
Can't complain, except for I filled up my gas tank the other day, and I don't know if you know this, but the price was astonishing.
I sure do know it's astonishing. I mean, it's been going up since the Biden administration took charge.
Yeah, so there's a big hearing on Capitol Hill today in your committee with a bunch of oil executives. I believe H.R. McMaster is also there. I just want to lay this out for you and let you kind of run with it. What is the narrative that your partners on the other side of the aisle are trying to push with this hearing, and kind of break down what the actual reality of it is?
Well, the oil companies are committing two crimes, Jobob. One is they're making a lot of money, and they're price gouging the consumer. Those are the two things that's coming from the Democratic Party, and yet, of course, we're pushing back on that. Mm-hmm. I like to say that petroleum is the lifeblood of our U.S. economy, and it appears to me that the Democrats are trying to bleed us out on behalf of China. They're trying to hurt the oil companies. They have driven up the price, the Biden administration. Certainly, Ukraine is a very unfortunate and dire contribution to that. But the gasoline at the pump was up over $1 before anything happened in Ukraine. And so today they're trying to hide, disguise, justify their actions of releasing some of the oil reserve. It's called the SPRO, Strategic Petroleum Reserve, as a way to push down prices. But that's not working. It really didn't have much of an effect. I could get into the details of that, having been in the petroleum distribution all my career. So what they're going to do is they're going to blame them for price gouging. And Jobob, here's what we have to be real careful of. This is an assault on capitalism as well. It's one thing to talk about the oil companies have price gouge and windfall profit taxes, which you're going to hear all over the New York Times and Los Angeles Times and the Atlantic. But they're starting with the oil companies. Then they're going to get to the healthcare industry. Then they're going to get to the farmer. Then they're going to get to everybody else that has raised their prices because of the inflation caused by the Biden administration.
Wow. Yeah, that's just kind of spreads out from there. I'm curious, you brought up the strategic petroleum reserves. I think I read somewhere that we are now at the lowest strategic oil reserve since the mid 80s. As a part of national security, is that something that we should be concerned about?
Well, it exists. The reason that we filled it up over the years, what we filled it up was about a little under $30 cost per barrel. Today, when we refill it, we're in the 90s immediately as you and I are talking. So I fill it back up. We'll be at about 40% of capacity. The purpose of the strategic oil reserve is a natural disaster that shuts down the petroleum industry, or of course, much more importantly, a war that would temporarily shut down our production or distribution of petroleum. So we've got it there to be able to take the fight to the enemy. And so it's a wrong thing to be taking out this reserve for a catastrophe and be using it to try to push down prices. And again, it's not working, Jobob. It's not happening. This is the third time this administration has pulled barrels out of the strategic oil.
Now, you mentioned being an oil executive, so I'm curious on your take on this. The White House has been, the last couple of weeks, trying to push this idea of, well, there's 9,000 unused licenses by the oil company. Is there any validity to that, or what's actually going on there?
Well, I'll keep this real simple. If someone applies for a license or permit to drill and has given that license, then they determine whether or not there's crude, natural gas, or whatever it is under the ground. Then they have to finance it. Then once they get through that, they have to get permits then to actually do the work. So the number of permits has nothing to do with whether or not there's production available in those permits.
Sounds like they're saying everybody has a steering wheel. I don't know why they're just not driving everywhere, lacking the rest of the car. Congressman, what is your side of the aisle in this committee hearing today going to be pointed on with these oil executives?
Well, I wouldn't say we're necessarily trying to show support of the oil industry as much as point out the reality, the importance of what they do, how they provide energy every day, whether it's to light your home, to cook on your stove, to drive your truck, to deliver your goods, to drive your car to work. What they have talked about today in their opening statements was how much they have done to reduce emissions over the years. And I can tell you, having been part of that industry, I wish they'd talk about that a little more, what their accomplishments in that area are. And they've also talked about how critical they are to a growing demand world of petroleum. Where it's not just the United States. These emerging countries, economies are also demanding more and more oil every day, which has an effect on price. But here in the United States, if you're going to shut down drilling, you're going to shut down distribution, you're going to force the price up.
Now, I know this is more of a long-term type of thing, but effectively on day one of the administration, they shut down yanked the licenses back to complete the Keystone XL pipeline. Is there any buzz or talk that you're hearing on the Hill about possibly restarting that, just given all of the things going on right now?
That restarting the Keystone pipeline is not as simple as it sounds. It's not like you switch flip the switch on that.
Totally.
It would have to be, a lot of the piping is gone, a lot of the permitting is gone, the investors are gone. The point of bringing that back up and maybe focusing back on that is there we have crude oil right north in Canada that we can bring into the United States down to our refineries and increase production and distribution. So I believe in the Keystone pipeline. I also believe there's a pipeline coming from Canada into the Detroit area that they want to shut that down too. So it's a broader conversation. The Keystone pipeline is an example, or it's something we hold up as, look what you did when you shut it down.
Congressman, before I let you go, anything that you would like to let people know that I'm missing or the media is missing, or anything that's poignant and needed to be talked about that we're just not talking about?
We can't allow the Democrats to push us to the electrification of the transportation industry until we're ready to go there. That's the big deal. And just trying to penalize and shut down the petroleum industry so that it forces people to buy electric cars like Pete Buttigieg wants everybody to do is a catastrophic, disastrous plan that will cost us a lot of money. And as I said, if petroleum is a lifeblood of our economy, to include making plastics, rubber, everything else, cutting off or bleeding out the petroleum industry can have catastrophic effects on our economy going forward.
I just want to clarify, or at least maybe let you expand just a little bit on what you said there. Didn't sound like you're against any of these other initiative or green energy projects. It's just you can't do it immediately. Is that an accurate assessment?
As an individual that spent many years in the petroleum, within the energy distribution field, what you're saying, Jobob, is exactly right. I'm not opposed to windmills, solar panels, to natural gas.
Yeah.
I have coal in my district. We have windmills. We have solar panels. That's all fine. But you have to have enough base load or baseline power, and solar and windmills aren't there yet. Okay, the electrification transportation industry doesn't have the base load available to be distributed at this point. Yet the Democrats would like to penalize the oil industry to force us to get there quickly.
Awesome. Wow. Great perspective. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us today.
Okay, thanks for having me, Jobob.
That was Congressman Greg Pierce of Indiana talking about the hearing they had yesterday in the House Energy Commerce Committee. That's going to do it for us today. If you missed any part of the show, if you want to rewatch, go watch on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, anywhere where you watch videos. You can also grab the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Streams, pretty much everywhere. Go ahead and do that. If you haven't already, appreciate a follow on any of your social media accounts. Grab your phone, just type in Jobob. You can even just Google it. And I feel like the Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff will come up. I'm on Truth Social. I don't use Truth Social. Let me know what you guys think about Truth Social. I'm actually very curious. There's also this new one that they just downloaded yesterday. It's called like Freedom something, free. Hold on, give me a second. What is this actually called? All right, I can't. Oh, Free State social media. I don't know. So I'm on all of those. Just type in Jobob. You'll find me. I'm hilarious on the internet. We're also announcing a comedy tour coming up pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that. Coming to a state, city, town near you. Be on the lookout. Appreciate you taking the time tuning in. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. God bless America.